Morning, folks. Can we get a 5x5? Happy Friday. It's Friday. Yes, it's Friday. Oh, I'm sorry, Minute Man. Cannot handle the anticipation. Well, sorry to hear that. 5x5s. Thank y'all very, very much. Yeah, it's always a work in progress over here. You would think after a while I would get better at the live streaming, but I've kind of plateaued on it. You know what I mean? It's this is good as it's going to get, probably. And it does take a while behind the scenes and all this stuff. And I'm using the good program. OBS is a lot more complicated than this. So normally something is always screwy with OBS. Anyway, again, happy Friday. Welcome to the nation. I am John. Again, thank y'all for the 5x5s. Who do we have now? Stephanie Lake, Shelly Hess, Coffee First, Then Speak, Teresa S., Karen DeSane, Jim, I'm waiting to see Joe Biden pop up in chat since he's at home. Bushcrafter, Virginia Bushcrafter, what's up, brother? Jim Patel, ain't got no confidence. Ain't got no confidence, especially in the president. Thad Gomez, what's going on? Forrest, always in the house. I appreciate that, brother. Jeremy Hale says, we here. U.S. Patriot, 3%er prepper. Minuteman, of course. Triple T Tony, Mad Elf, and the moderators. Thank y'all very much for what you do. So, it's a little bit hot this morning. So, there's going to be a special announcement toward the backside of this live stream. This live stream is not going to go for like hours and hours and hours. You know what I'm saying? Dennis the Menace, thank you. It was picked out by my better half. So yes, she's got all the taste. You know what I'm saying? Me, not so much. So let's dive into it. We got several things to talk about this morning, but we got to start off by facing the facts. Our situation here in the United States is really, really bad. It's worse than most people realize, I think. You got a lot of zombies walking around. It is what it is. Those people are never going to figure it out. I saw that, Jamie, about Lou Dobbs, the sad stuff. But our situation is really, really bad. I don't want to get into the whole discussion again of normalcy bias and stuff. Y'all know what that is by now. But I think where it's happened incrementally here in the United States, people really and truly have gotten used to it over the course of time. And we don't realize how bad it is. Maybe even some of us preppers. America's awesome, savagely. Well, it's a matter of opinion. You know what I'm saying? It's a matter of opinion. Some people are going to say that, and I respect that. Other people are going to be like, stop taking 12, 13 grand from me every year. Can I please have a president that can string one sentence together, this sort of thing. So, woke up this morning. This is just, another day here in paradise. Woke up this morning, and apparently there's a global power and cyber outage. Y'all heard about this? I saw a few people talking about it about 45 minutes ago when the chat first opened up. Shady, what's up? Roy Batty. Huge outage. And it has something to do with a software update that was put out by Microsoft, either a Microsoft-owned company or a company that works with Microsoft. Yeah, Pilgrim, it is absolutely worldwide. It's happening throughout different countries, but it's affecting the United States big time. Cuban Nurse Prepper, thank you. I hope so. I've been running my mouth for a few minutes already. Thank you for the 5x5. Florida Man, I appreciate that very much. Gifted 5 Prepper Nation memberships. You are awesome. I appreciate that, sir. So, we haven't been affected. Somebody says, yeah, savagely, I haven't noticed anything here yet either, but it's affecting a lot of things, again, worldwide, but also nationwide. Airlines heavily affected. They're saying airlines are the most affected. The 3 top carriers have grounded everything. They're trying to figure out what to do. Their servers are offline. Banks, a lot of banks are offline right now. So if you have, money in the bank, I use that term very loosely, okay? You may not be able to access it this morning. You may not be able to get on the bank's website. You may not be able to go in person and withdraw money because they can't access their own stuff. Momstrosity, good morning. How are you doing? Hospitals. A lot of hospitals are dealing with servers being offline. And 911 services heavily affected again in some areas. Okay, this is not going to be totally nationwide, but a lot of 911 services right now are offline because that's what you want in 2024. It's not bad enough that we defunded the police. It's not bad enough that we handcuffed them so they really can't do anything to criminals. Now 911 services are offline. Major businesses, a lot of businesses reporting trouble because of servers, and some broadcasting outlets. I know Sky News was the biggest one that I saw that was affected by this, right? Joshua, thank you very, very much. Happy Friday to you. It's possible. It is possible. Now, I don't want to sit here and get too much into conspiracy, but I'm telling you, I'll say this. Whether it's the WEF, whether it is just a software glitch, which is what the official story is, our country's enemies are looking at this. Let's be honest. Russia doesn't really care for the United States, our government at least. They are looking at this right now, and they're saying this is how you hurt the United States of America. You don't have to put boots on the ground. You don't have to go head to head with them. You don't even have to fight a proxy war, on this continent with the United States of America. You can do this. You can take servers offline. Why? Because we are stupid enough to tie everything into the grid, everything into servers. I say this because I remember a world, many of you do as well, probably, where things it didn't matter. Pencil and paper. People could take orders at restaurants. Stores could do transactions. Hospitals, doctors' offices, they could function without this stuff. But because we've become so advanced, right, and we've tied everything in, now our enemies can hurt us wholesale all in one swoop. And again, I don't want to float too many conspiracy theories, but maybe it is the WEF. Maybe you're right about that. Maybe it's Russia. Maybe it's Iran. Iran does a lot of this stuff as well. We'll never know because we never get told the truth. But it's important to understand that's how fast it can happen. Literally like a switch flipping. That's how quickly you can lose access to your money. You can lose access to the airlines, to 911. I mean, things can begin to fail instantly. Yeah. Marsha. Okay, I get it. This is clever. Marsha, Russia. I don't think it was, I would be more inclined to say it was our own or maybe globalists. I don't think that it was Russia this time, but I'm saying, anything's possible, right? But I'm saying Russia's looking at this. They're seeing the panic worldwide, the UK, Australia, the United States, and they're saying, man, this is how we hurt them for pennies on the dollar. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. They're paying attention. So normally, this is where you would get an address from a president. Normally, a decent president, or at least somebody that was decent when the camera was on, right? They would get in front of the camera. They would do what they could to calm the population down, to reassure them everything is going to be okay. My fellow Americans, everything's going to be okay, son. However, these are not normal times. And spoiler alert, we do not have a normal president right now. We have Joe Biden. Joe Biden has the C-19, supposedly, for the third time. And maybe he does. Again, I don't want to float conspiracies this morning. It's Friday, but whatever. I don't want to sit here and say, he's lying. He doesn't have it. I'll say the timing is impeccable, though. It couldn't have happened to Joe Biden at a better time. And I'm not wishing ill on the man. I'm saying for his campaign because they're bewildered right now. and it just feels like one of two things to me when it comes to Joe Biden and his campaign, okay? I believe so. I believe so. But we'll get into that. That's a very astute opinion, Ginger. So this either is a great way to keep him out of the public eye for a while, because every time he's in the public eye, he fails miserably. Every single time this man has a microphone in front of him or a camera on, and it happens. I fell over here sometimes, son, but he does it every single time, and he's the most powerful man, in theory, in Western civilization. So this seems like a great way to keep the cameras away from him. I got to go over here. I've got to, seclude myself from the rest of society. Again, for the third time, I got to quarantine, keep the cameras away, keep the microphones away. This removes Joe Biden, but you have all of his mouthpieces doing the work for him and his campaign team. Okay, that's scenario number one. Scenario number two, to Ginger's point and many of your points as well, to provide an off ramp. And I think this is the most likely scenario. I believe, and I'm going to float it this morning. Y'all let me know what you think. It's just speculatory on my part, but I'm floating it. All right. I believe Joe Biden and his campaign, they have figured out they cannot beat Donald Trump. They're not going to win a debate. He's losing steam. He's been in politics, I don't know how long, guys, 50, 60 years. He wants to save face, because if he stays in this election much longer, everybody's calling for him to step down at this point. The Obamas are calling for him, Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, everybody's got senators now saying you need to step down. If he does not step down, whatever legacy this man has had throughout 50 or 60 years is ruined, because he's going to have to go to war with his own party. At the same time, Joe Biden doesn't want to look like a coward. He doesn't just want to drop out of the race. You know what I'm saying? This provides him a perfect opportunity, a perfect off ramp, as I said before, for him to leave the race, do it in a way that he deems is respectable. Democrats will applaud him and say, "Good job. Thank you for doing what's best for the country. You've put in a lifetime body of work. Thank you for everything that you have done here, Mr. Biden." And then they can move the agenda along. That's what I feel like is happening. Joshua Ryman, thank you very much. We're getting there. I heard he's stepping down pretty soon. We're getting ready to get there, as a matter of fact. Good, great minds think alike. I'm going to take y'all down the libertarian grapevine here in a minute. But I don't know. I don't know. People, again, thank you, Joshua. People on the left who voted for this man en masse during the primaries, okay? I'm not talking about the ones that are taking dirt naps and the illegals. I'm talking about during the primaries, people that actually got breath in their lungs and they're registered Democrats. I do too. Rebecca says, my guess is that they will blame it on an illness. He's not able to run. Otherwise, he would, because he's a fighter. He's from Scranton. Unfortunately, this thing has taken its toll on him. And go out and get the whiskey shots. Let this be an example to you. And he's got to step down for this reason. So, anyway, very good point, Rebecca. This is funny to me. Think about the context of this, okay? Because what is democracy? Don't come after me, y'all. I know that we are not a democracy, technically speaking, but I'm saying a lot of people on the left believe that we are a democracy, okay? I get it. We're a constitutional republic, but they don't get that. They're really bad at putting A and B together sometimes, okay? So they think it's a democracy. And a democracy is what? It's popular vote. It's people decide what is going to happen next. This is literally what is happening right now. Joe Biden, by far, was the left's pick during the primaries. They showed up, they showed out, they said, hey, we don't want Kamala Harris. Hey, we don't want Gavin Newsom. Everybody else that was on the card, they're like, we're not interested. We want Joe Biden. Mob rule. That's another good way of putting it, Salty Dog. So now, these same people, this is how bad the gaslighting is. These same people are basically on social media saying, the person we voted for must drop out of the race in order to preserve democracy. And I'm dancing around this. I'm trying to figure out, like, what are you talking about? You understand what I'm saying? It just that statement in itself doesn't even make sense. He is the guy because y'all made him the guy. Your quote unquote democracy did the talking and it picked Joe Biden. So either you're morons and you picked a guy that you knew was not coherent, or you're sitting here telling us, well, democracy ruled on that one, but now he needs to drop out in order to save democracy. It's just stupid. It doesn't even make sense at some point. All right, the libertarian grapevine. Here we go. I'm hearing rumblings. Now, this is via X, and this is there are a few news articles attached to it on X. The biggest one came from Newsmax. So if you're a fan of Newsmax, there you go. If you're not, there you go. It is what it is. But I follow a lot of libertarian sources on X, Twitter. And I'm hearing a lot of rumblings that Joe Biden is preparing to drop out of the race in order to save face, but more importantly, that he is not going to put his support behind Kamala Harris as top of the ticket, which would mean that there's going to be an open convention if this is correct, okay? And that's, again, according to many sources on X, but Newsmax as well. That Joe Biden is getting ready to drop out of the race, but he is not going to say Kamala Harris's heir apparent. Basically, it's going to be the Wild West when they have their convention, because an open convention eliminates, Daryl Calhoun, hello, eliminates the primaries. It's like the primaries never happened. What democracy? Remember the democracy we were just talking about? That never happened with an open convention, because then delegates get to decide, is it Gavin Newsom? Is it Kamala Harris? Is it Gretchen Whitmer? They get to make that determination at that point. Okay. So we'll see how it plays out. But I'll tell you, the entire election scene is a cluster at this point. Kind of knew it would be, but it's just a cluster. I don't even know what else to call it. I'm trying not to curse here. It's just like, it's a cluster. It could be RFK. Charles Wagner's saying it could be RFK. They may throw their support behind RFK at this convention. I have no idea. It's the entire thing's a cluster. And I think it's intended to be chaotic. But take a look at where we are politically as we're heading into November. And yes, I do think there's going to be an election to some degree. We've got a man that was almost assassinated, wearing a bandage on the side of his head, kissing fire helmets last night. Very emotional, telling his story, right? And on the other side, we have a guy who is in quarantine with the C-19, and we're hearing rumblings that he's just going to drop out altogether. That's where we're at politically. And I'm like, this cannot be happening in the United States of America. I don't know the exact population as of this morning, but I know we have enough people in this country, enough intellectual people, that we have got to get some viable candidates in there that are not 80 years old. You know what I'm saying? Jim Shady, thank you. Can't win the game. Change the opposing team at halftime. Make up rules as you go. They're really good at that. They're really good at that. Karen says, I'm okay with RFK. What are your thoughts? Chat, replay crowd after the fact. You can drop a comment. Where do you stand on RFK? I like some of the stuff he talks about. He wants to go after Big Pharma. I like it. He wants accountability on the C-19, the whole debacle. I like that. The rest of it, I don't like so much. The rest of it for me is just not libertarian enough. I'm going to be honest with you. Uh, It just feels like they're waiting and they're waiting and they're waiting because they want to give voters as little time as possible as we head into the election, if we have one, to actually do any research on candidates. Does that make sense, guys? So if they announce today, Biden dropped out, Gavin Newsom's the guy, people have time to go and research Gavin Newsom. You know, Californians already know about Gavin Newsom. Either they like him or they don't. But a lot of people don't know anything about him or they don't know that much about him. But if they hold off and they wait until the end and then introduce Gavin Newsom at the last minute, people are going to have to base their decisions on what the man says on TV. And that's worrisome for me because he's he's a slick talker. He's a car salesman. Gretchen Whitmer, she's not as slick of a talker. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know. I don't know. So quickly, I've got an announcement. All right, I said I would, and I'm going to. Be sure you are subscribed to this channel. Be sure you've hit the bell icon. Sometime this evening, we're going to be going radioactive. We're going to be live streaming. I'm going to have Mr. Backwoods on with me. The exact time, not sure yet. But every single time we go radioactive, people begin to leave comments after the fact. I didn't get a notification. Forget you, YouTube. Listen, I'm telling you right now, I'm out here doing the Lord's work. I'm telling you how to get a notification for this evening if you're interested. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon. That should be it. You should be notified at that point moving forward. So anyway, it's going to be interesting because we're going to be talking about a lot of this stuff, but as y'all know, in a very colorful way. We're going to get his 2 cents on a lot of this stuff. So it's Prepper Nation. Let's talk a little bit about prepping, okay? Specifically bartering this morning. And I got to be honest with you. This is a really strange approach to bartering, but just hear me out. All right. I was deep in thought about this last night. Of course, I ain't had but like 3 hours of sleep, 3.5. So I was in deep thought about a lot of stuff, like who really shot J.R. Ewing, this kind of stuff. But let's talk about bartering. So this is probably an approach that you've never heard in the prepping community before. I wanted to make it a little bit different because normally when we talk about bartering, we're talking about the same old stuff, and for good reason, liquor, smokes, cigarettes, cigars, tobacco, gold, silver, blah, 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 blah. How about nostalgia? You know what I'm talking about? Nostalgia, it's like a deep sentimental connection to a memory that you have. Maybe it's from your childhood, your teenage years. Maybe it has something to do with the day you got married or seeing one of your kids grow up or something like that. We often talk about morale boosters. This is where I'm going with this, okay? Um, you'll hear people when they're making their list of stuff. You did it, Dynamite. You never liked JR. So you'll hear people making lists and they're like, yeah, you got to put hard candy on there. You got to put playing cards on there. You got to put board games on there. Why? I agree with that, by the way. But why do we do that? We do that because you need some sort of entertainment. You need some sort of escape from full blown SHTF. And as I was sitting there again on 3.5 hours sleep, I shoot straight with you. I was thinking to myself, what better escape during SHTF than stuff that is going to connect you to memories of days gone by? There are certain things that I see that's going to remind me of being 10 years old, or certain things that I like. I'll give you an example. So during, let's say we have a total collapse, we're in a Mad Max situation, And I have a friend who shows up and they're like, "Look, John, look, man, we need food. We need about a week's worth of food. Um, I didn't really have any gold. I didn't have any silver. I didn't have anything I think you would like other than the entire run, let's say, of the Walking Dead comic books. I think there are 193 of them, okay? Which I'm interested in those. I got about half of them. Look, son, that's kind of my thing. I'm probably interested in that trade. Why? And then that sounds crazy coming from a prepper. Why would you trade a week's worth of food for 193 comics of The Walking Dead? They have no intrinsic value. They're definitely not a prepping item because I have plenty of food. I've done my due diligence on a lot of things. And so, yeah, if the right deal comes across or something nostalgic comes across, I might be willing to do it. We've talked about this previously. If you've done the work and then some, and you've got extra. Now, I'm not trading guns and ammo, but somebody comes to me and they're like, "Hey, man, I've got this stack of whatever it is. Again, The Walking Dead. We'll go with graphic novels this time. I really need a couple of water filters." Okay, I got a ton of water filters. Here's a couple. Go ahead and stack those up. Not because they're worth a ton of money. I mean, they are right now, but once things go sideways, it's not like you can take them into a comic shop and sell them, but they're worth something to me. This provides me something extra, something additional to escape the SHTF from. And I guarantee you, every single person watching this or listening to this would be interested in at least one item coming through the door that they don't realize they would be interested in. Serious. So when you talk about a big event like a collapse or something, Pot B, what's going on? Um, you're going to have, so we call them barter towns or swap meets or whatever. You're going to have these things. I think they're going to be heavily armed. Probably everybody there is going to be heavily armed unless it's well policed by a warlord or something like that. And there's definitely going to be a focus on survival items. People are going to be looking for generators. They're going to be looking for gasoline. They're going to be looking for stuff that they need to survive. Okay. But what if you've already focused on all of that stuff? What if you're able to go and you're able to shop based on what you want, not necessarily what you need, because you've taken care of the needs first? You'd be able to grab, I think, some pretty cool stuff. Let's say, and I'm just pulling stuff out of the air here, but I believe it matters. Let's say you go to a barter town, right? And you've prepped everything that you need. You're just going to see what they got. Maybe you're going to pick up some extra nutrient survival or something like that, or you think you are, but you get there and you see a painting. Somebody's just got a painting sitting over here. They're trying to barter it off. And to everybody else, this painting means absolutely nothing. But maybe this painting, this identical painting, was hanging up when you were a kid. And you see that, and instantly you are connected to being a kid again. And you remember your mom and dad being there. And you remember your siblings being there. And you're connected to a better time at that point. To you, that is everything during a full blown collapse. I'm not saying get stupid. I'm not saying show up with 4 rifles and trade. You know what I'm saying? Make it make sense. But you can make out like a bandit during these times, I think. And nostalgia, I'm telling y'all, they say it's like a drug. I don't know. I haven't done the research on this stuff. But what I'm saying is, everybody has a connection to something that they're unaware of, something that is going to take you back. Maybe you see some action figures from the 50s and you were a kid in the 50s and you're like, I've got to have those. If for no other reason than to get these to my kids and watch my kids play with them. This is going to help relieve stress during an SHTF. So, what is the message? Number 1, be open minded. Number 2, stack a little extra if you can afford to do so. Stack a little extra. People People say, well, I'm not stacking gold and silver because you can't eat gold and silver. Stack stuff to eat first, and then stack some extra gold and silver if you can afford to, especially silver. It's a lot cheaper. I'm just saying. And then if you ever find yourself at a barter town, and you're walking through and you see a picture or painting or whatever, a book maybe, that connects you to your childhood, they're probably going to take a little bit of silver for that and be happy with it. And you'll be much happier as well. I don't know. It's just where my mind was. But again, this evening we should be going radioactive. So be sure that you are subscribed and you hit the bell icon. Otherwise, you will not be notified. And I'm going to have to look at those posts all over again. Y'all take care and God bless.